Hey guys, welcome back. I am so excited to have you guys here. My name is Adele. I'm a feminine energy coach and an inner work coach and healer. I have something I want to share with you. I'm super excited. So, this is an inner work practice that I've been doing for the last couple of days, and it is blowing my mind, and it has been so much fun. So, I want to share this with you, and I'm hoping and I know that if you implement this practice, it will help you on your healing journey so much. So, when we experience trauma or any type of a traumatic experience or a traumatic encounter with another person, oftentimes our mind will get stuck in this loop. So, say you have an interaction with someone and it's not the best interaction. It was very triggering for you. You felt very attacked. You felt like they treated you poorly. You felt like it was just so traumatic and it was just really unfair what happened to you. So what you'll start to do is you'll start to replay this scenario in your mind over and over again. And you'll just continue to watch it loop through. And you might feel angry sometimes, or other times you might feel really sad, or other times you might be like, oh, I should have reacted differently. I should have said this, or I should have done this. You just continue to replay this scenario over and over in your head. Well, the problem with that is you will never heal from a situation if all you do is continue to replay the situation over and over in your head. What happens when you do something like that is you are pushing yourself into a victim mentality. You are causing yourself to create a new reality. So something has happened. This other person reacted this way, you reacted this way, and when you continue to loop through this situation, you are reprogramming your brain to stay stuck in this wounded victim mentality. We have what's called an ego, and the ego will come in and try to protect us when it thinks that we have been hurt. And that's what the ego is doing. It's creating this loop, and it's pushing you into that victim mentality because what it's trying to do is make sure that this never happens to you again. Well, if you are wanting to heal from this, if you're wanting to be able to step out of that victim mentality and really step into to that accountability that we talked about a couple episodes ago. And when I say accountability, I don't mean taking accountability and like that the situation was your fault, because maybe it wasn't. Maybe you played a role in it, but when something happens to you and when you've been triggered or when you've been hurt or when you've been through trauma, the last thing that you need to do is to turn on yourself and blame yourself for it. Also, the last thing you need to do is sit and think that it's all the other person's fault or replay this story in your head. So here's what I mean by this. When you go through a traumatic experience, there was a part of you that was hurt. There was a part of you that had something told to her, whether it was you're not enough, or when hard things happen, you're not worth sticking around for, or maybe she was told something like the only thing valuable about you is your looks or what you can bring to the table. And now a lot of times these aren't things that are actually said to us. A lot of times people don't actually use those words, but when we go through some type of a traumatic interaction or a traumatic experience, we internalize these things that we think the other person might be thinking about us, or that we might secretly think about ourselves. And so then the ego steps in, and the ego wants you to step into victim mentality of, oh my gosh, it's all their fault. Poor me, everything bad happens to me, nothing good ever happens to me, all of these stories that it creates. So here is how you get out of it. I this is kind of how this came about. So I was working with my coach, and I was just explaining to her how frustrated I felt that I was continuing to be triggered, that I continued to show up in this certain way, and I didn't want to show up that way anymore, that I wanted to get out of that victim mentality, but I felt like I kept hitting a brick wall. Like I felt like I was getting there, that I was healing, and I definitely was, and I definitely have been healing because I've been very conscious of the thoughts that I'm thinking. I've been very conscious of the person that I'm wanting to embody. So I know that I was healing. But in this, I kept feeling like I was just hitting a brick wall. That that there's a certain trigger that I would feel, and it didn't matter what happened. I would heal from that, or I would process through that feeling, and then a couple of hours later I was feeling the same thing, and it was a continuous cycle. It was just like this loop that I was running, and I couldn't seem to be able to get off of this hamster wheel. And so she was working with me on this, and we were kind of talking about it and discussing it, and she was like, when traumatic things happen to people, a lot of times they want to revisit what happened to them. It's almost like watching the traumatic experience on the TV. Like you're sitting there and you continue to watch it, and you continue to see it, and you continue to relive it, which then continues to trigger you, which then continues to cause you to go into this victim mentality. And it's just this cycle that we go through, and we all do it. Like there's no reason to feel bad that you're in this cycle. Like there's no reason for me to feel bad that I was in this cycle. It's just something that we as humans do. It's our ego, again, trying to protect us and make sure that we stay safe. And funnily, our ego, the way that our ego keeps us safe is by keeping us in this victim mentality, or keeping us in our old identity. So if you are trying to recreate a new identity, if you're trying to level up, if you're trying to let go of the triggers, your ego is going to come up, and it's going to continue to pull you down because it's safe. It's familiar down here. Down here in the triggered, in the wounded, in the victim mentality, this is safe. We're not really sure what it's going to be like up here. We're not really sure what's going to happen once you get out of that victim mentality. And so your ego only knows what it has experienced, and so it really tries to keep you down here. And so that's what was happening with me, is I was trying to get out of this loop, but I couldn't really figure out how, because my ego kept pulling me down. So here's what she told me to do, and you guys, it has been the most fun activity that I have ever done, I think. So she said, again, see yourself like watching this big screen TV. You're watching the trigger happen, and you're just like, yeah, and then this happened, and I can't believe this, and whatever. She said, but start to realize that there is the wounded version of you standing behind you. And so there's you right now watching this big screen TV of the traumatic experience, and there's the wounded version of you behind you. But you're so focused on the trigger, you're so focused on what happened, that you're completely neglecting the one who was hurt. You're completely ignoring that there is a part of you that needs you to help her to heal. So she said, every time that this trigger comes up, every time you feel the need to judge this person because of the way that they're living, every time you feel the need to justify your thoughts or your actions because of what happened to you, she said, stop yourself in the trigger. Every time you feel whatever trigger it is coming up, stop yourself, check yourself, and turn away from the trigger and turn towards the one who was hurt. I was like, what? Oh my gosh, I'm such a visual learner, as I have said many, many times. And so this whole visual of what I was doing was really, really valid, and I was able to really connect to it. So I was like, okay, cool. That's really, really cool, because when we've been hurt, when we've experienced something that has hurt us, we start to live from that hurt identity. We start to see the world through the eyes of that hurt person. The only way to stop doing that, the only way to heal from that, is to heal that hurt version of you. Another word for this would be shadow work, doing the inner shadow work, or doing like loving a younger version of yourself. And I know I've talked about that before as well. But this visual there was something about it that clicked for me. And I was like, yes. So what I've been doing the last couple of days, and it has been so much fun, is every time I feel like a thought will come to my mind, and it's a triggering thought, right? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person is doing this, or I will see something maybe on Facebook or whatever, and it will want me to justify, oh yeah, see, my actions are fine because of this is what happened. It wants me to like justify myself. And so every time something like that happens, every time I notice something like that, I stop and I think, what part of me is this serving? What wounded part of me wants me to stay in that wounded part? What part of me was hurt in the moment, and can I connect to her, and can I help her through that? So, for example, let me try to think. Maybe I'll just go ahead and use a personal example. I didn't really want to, but I'm going to go ahead and use a personal example. So, for example, I have been feeling like a lot of judgment. So every time this judgment part of me comes up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person is doing this or whatever, I stop and I think, all right, Adele, what part of you felt judged? What part of you is being triggered right now? And so I could stop and I could think about it, and I could really like visualize myself turning to that wounded part of me and saying, what part of you was judged and feels now the need to judge someone else because of their actions? It was the coolest thing, you guys. I started having these thoughts pop into my mind of when I was like 19 years old, like almost 20 years ago, you guys. These thoughts that would come into my mind and would say, oh, well, this happened to me. This experience happened to me. Therefore, I felt judged in this way. Therefore, now it is safer for me to judge someone else than for me to reflect on that part of me that felt judged and revisit that pain. Do you see how it's just this cycle that we live in? A lot of times when we feel the need to project part of ourselves onto someone, it's because that part of us has been hurt. So if we feel like we need to, oh, sorry guys, my dog barking. You're okay, Zoe. Anyways, if there's a part of us that feels that we need to judge, then there's a part of us that has been judged and feels like she needs to justify herself. Well, if I judge them, then I can't worry or I won't feel bad about what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh, you guys, it was so much fun when I started to do this, when I started to see that part of me that was hurt, all she needed was me to tell her, hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay that this happened. It's okay that you experienced this. I love you despite that. Even if this person said this, even if this person treated you this way, I love you. You still have value for me, to me, and really, really connecting with that part. So what does your wounded part need? What does your shadow self need from you? Does she need to know that even when things get hard, you're willing to stick it out with her? You're willing to do the hard, deep work so that she can feel safe? Does she need to know that she's more than just a pretty face? That there's so much depth to her soul, that you love connecting with her, you love spending time with her, that you love this woman that she is becoming. That is how you get out of that hamster wheel of the triggers. That's how you heal that part of yourself, is that you turn away from the trauma, you turn away from what happened to you, the story that you're watching, the story that you're seeing, the story that you're telling yourself. And you turn to that part of you that was hurt and you say, what do you need? What do you need from me right now? Because I'm here for it. I'm here for the healing. And you know that you're here for the healing because you're watching this video. You're watching and you're listening to these types of things that is pushing you to reach for that higher level, that higher version of yourself. So even though there's going to be doubt that creeps in, like, well, I don't know, like, am I really here for it? Or do I really believe that? Yes, you do, because you're thinking about it. You don't have to have already gone on the other side and proven to yourself that you are there for it. Just the fact that you're thinking about it, that your heart wants to move to that place, that's evidence enough for yourself to know that you're there for it, that you're willing to heal with this version of you. Because this version, all she needs is she needs to know that you are there for her. When we are looking for validation from other people, when we are seeking from our partner, from our parents, from our friends, from, anybody, when we are seeking validation, like, am I worthy? Am I lovable? Am I somebody that you want to spend time with? Am I worth going through the hard things with? Really what we're asking is we're asking for ourself. Like, am I worth going through this with? Me, myself. So visualize that younger version of you. How old is she? Is she last week you, or is she 9-year-old you? It doesn't really matter. When we go through traumatic experiences, the hurt version of us is the one who starts to run the show, not our healed higher version. So if you were wounded and if you are operating from this 9-year-old wounded version of you, of course, the lens that you are seeing your life through, the lens that you're seeing your experiences through are going to be extremely skewed. You're not going to be experiencing the life that you want to at the highest level that you can until you can stop and you can connect with yourself and you can heal that younger version of you. How old is she? What happened? What is she feeling? What are the experiences that she's having? And what part of her was hurt? And connect to that part and love that part and help that part. It's so fun, you guys. And it is I would say it's almost instantaneous. Because when I started doing this, so I started yesterday morning actually, so it's only been like 2 days. It's been so much fun. So yesterday morning is when I started it. And every time those triggers came up, I was like, oh, hold on. What part of you was hurt in this? What story were you telling yourself? What do you need from me? And when you can sit with yourself and ask those questions, these thoughts are going to start coming, and trust the thoughts that come, even though they may feel like a little bit crazy. Not crazy, but a little strange, a little bit different. Maybe it's not something you were expecting. Like some of the thoughts that came to my mind, I was like, oh my goodness, I was 19 years old and this experience happened and I didn't even remember that it happened, but it came back to me, and I realized how this wounded version of me was created. And I realized how she has been running the show, the stories that I've been telling myself, the way that I've been showing up, and how once I was able to connect with her and love her, the triggers stopped coming. Like I was having probably, I don't know, 9 to 10 triggers a day, just randomly, right? Not huge triggers, not anything that would throw me into full-blown panic or anything. I've been doing a lot of healing and a lot of inner work, and so I feel like my triggers have been just like unwelcome thoughts, basically, is what my triggers are at this point, or right now, are mainly just like unwelcome thoughts. Or I'll be doing something and randomly I'll start thinking about a person and I'm like, oh, I really would rather not do that. And so every time that would happen, I would have to stop and be like, what part of me needs me to see her right now. And it would show up and I would see it and I would feel it and I could just sit with that part of me and say, oh my goodness, girl, I love you so much. And it doesn't matter what happens, I am here for you. I'm here to provide for you. Anything that you need, I'm here for you. That was for me one of my last triggers. I was feeling that I was difficult to provide for, or that it was hard for somebody to want to provide for me. And so I had to stop and I had to tell myself, you are a joy to provide for. You are so grateful. You are so kind. And you show so much gratitude for the things that are given to you. It's so fun to provide for you. So you almost see this younger part of you and you can just talk to her and you can just tell her, oh my gosh, I love you so much. And we realize that the thoughts that have been running the majority of our experiences are false beliefs. They're false beliefs, they're false identities, they're things that have come because of a hurt that we experienced. They're things that we don't have to carry. Just because we experienced some type of trauma doesn't mean that we have to continue to live in that trauma cycle. We can let it go. We can heal that version of us. We just have to be conscious enough to recognize and to see where she has been hurt and what she needs from us. All she wants is that validation, is that recognition that she's seen, that you know that you're aware of her. Once you do that, it's like night and day. You stop feeling those triggers. You stop experiencing them to the level that you have been. And one thing I do want to know is that if you do, because I feel like we're almost like doing inner work. I am so passionate about inner work. I have grown so much and I've gained so much love and appreciation for myself because of the inner work that I've been doing. I am so proud of me. I love who I am and who I am becoming, and I know it is all because of the inner work that I'm doing. But we also need to realize that we are like an onion. There are layers upon layers upon layers upon layers to us and to the experiences that we are having. So you are going to heal, you're going to do the shadow work, and you're going to love yourself. And then tomorrow, you may notice that there are more triggers coming up. This is not something to be frustrated about. This does not mean that the inner work or the healing that you did yesterday didn't stick or isn't continuing to help you heal. Excuse me. What it means is that there's just a whole nother layer that needs to be seen, that needs to be loved, that needs to be validated, that needs to be recognized. This is not something that should be frustrating, although sometimes it can be. Like I was telling you earlier, I was frustrated. I was talking with my coach and I was like, why? Why? But the coolest thing about working with coaches is that you're not just doing this blind. You're not just trying to figure out what it is you're feeling. It's 100% possible, I promise. I've done a lot of my healing on my own, and it is possible. But I will say that it's so much faster when you have someone else working through it with you or helping you to see another perspective, or someone maybe who has experienced some of the things that you've experienced and they're like, okay, here's what I did, here's what you can do. And it really helps your healing get expedited as you work with a coach. But don't feel discouraged if you continue to feel possibly the same types of triggers. It just means that there's another layer of you that needs to be seen, that needs to be validated. We have so many experiences every single day. Every single minute we're experiencing something. And sometimes the trauma can come from a show that we watched, from an experience that a parent had. It's really cool. Our ability to connect with other people is so fantastically incredible. But we can also experience trauma from our grandparents. Like we can inherit trauma. That's a whole nother video. That's a whole nother topic. And I will definitely be doing something on that. I really want to. But we could be experiencing something, a trauma that we're like, I've never actually like lived through any type of lack. I've always had my needs met. I've always, had everything that I've needed. Why do I feel so much fear and so much lack? It could be that you're inheriting something from a grandparent that experienced possibly like the Great Depression. So even though maybe you don't understand your traumas, it's okay. Maybe you don't understand your triggers, it's okay. The best part about this type of healing is you don't have to understand it. You don't have to know really what's going on. You just have to feel. That's all you have to do. You have to connect with your body and you have to feel, what is it that I need right now? What does this version of me need right now? And when you can connect to yourself, when you can connect to your feelings, and when you can just let yourself have the experience that you're having, that in and of itself is healing. This is so fun. I love inner work. It's so incredible because as you start to see these different versions of yourself, you start to understand and you start to have so much more empathy for yourself, so much more love, so much more compassion. And isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we want other people to have for us? We need to have what we want from other people. We need to give ourselves what we want from other people. You will never be loved by another person the way that you need to be loved until you're able to love yourself the way that you need to be loved. If you are constantly seeking validation, or if you're constantly seeking healing from an outside source, you will always be seeking. You will never find it. It's not until you can turn to yourself, turn away from your trauma, and turn to the one who is hurt and ask her, what do you need from me? What part of you has been hurt? And you could even ask, what part is this serving? You might be surprised, like the example that I gave with me being really judgmental, the part that was serving for me is that it kept my my mind from judging myself. If I can make sure that I'm constantly looking outward and judging other people, then I'm too busy to judge myself, right? So that was something that my ego was using to keep myself, quote unquote, safe. Because I didn't want to look at myself. I didn't want to see the parts of me that felt judged. But the coolest thing is that when I did take a minute to connect to that part of me that was so afraid of being judged, it was like maybe 5 minutes, maybe. All she really needed was me to say, hey, yeah, I see that happened. And I see that that you feel a lot of judgment for yourself for that. It's okay because I don't judge you. I love you. I love this part of you. I love that you're wanting to be healed. I love that you're trying so hard. I love you. And so the fear of me judging myself was completely false. Because once that higher part of me, the part of me that wanted to connect to that part that was hurt, I actually don't have judgment for myself. It's only the wounded part of me that had judgment for herself. I don't. So do you see how that happens? As you start to do your inner work, as you start to connect to that part of you that was hurt, you realize that you just want to love that younger version of yourself. You just want her to know how much you love and accept her exactly the way she is. And seriously, within 5 minutes, I was able to let go of the need to judge in that moment. Is it going to come up again? Am I going to have an experience that's going to cause me to want to judge someone else? Probably. I'm human. I would guess that that's going to happen again. But you know what? I know exactly what to do. And I know what part of me needs to be loved. And I know how to do it. So that's the thing is, once you start to experience these types of things, when you get triggered, you know what to do. So these triggers don't run your life. The wounded part of you no longer has the opportunity to continue to run your life because you know how to heal from that. The choice is yours whether or not you choose to. But because you're watching this video and because you're here, I know that that's something that you want to do. I know that this is something that you're wanting to heal from. So, to recap, if you are experiencing a trigger, or if you have trauma that you just keep looping in your mind and you keep watching this metaphorical video of it continuing to play, here's what you need to do. You need to stop watching the trauma. You need to stop watching the triggers, and you need to turn away from them, and you need to find that part of you that was hurt. And you need to love her. You need to ask her what it is that she needs from you. And if you're curious, you can ask, what part of this is serving me? How is this showing up right now? And how does my ego think that this is serving me? Sometimes it's fun to see and be like, oh, I didn't realize that it was keeping me from looking at myself because I was too busy judging someone else, or whatever it is for you. If you guys want to work with me, if you want to go deeper with your inner work, I am here for it. I love this work. I love the transformation that I have experienced. You can look at my links below. You can connect with me on Calendly. I have a Facebook community that you can link with, and you can ask questions, and we can just be the best of friends there. I love the girls that I work with. I love being able to help people connect to that higher version of themselves. And I love helping them have these aha moments where they can get off of the hamster wheel, where they can get out of these cycles that have been running their life. I love you, and I will talk to you next time. Talk to you later. Bye.